This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, fallout from the Vince allegations, Brock Lesnar taking blowback. As the WWE commentary wheel spins, we have updates on who's doing what, and an AEW big man suffers an injury. We've got the lowdown on all of that. This is going to be a weird episode. We're going to give you your Royal Rumble results, and we are not excited about where we're headed for WrestleMania, I think. Helping me break it all down, he's the one, he's the only, he is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Cuz I was excited legitimately to break down the Rumble. Then you and I took in SmackDown, and the entire landscape changed. All the excitement, all the positive buildup that has taken place, all the positive fanfare that has taken place with Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble has been eliminated. And look, I can't be a hypocrite. I can't be somebody that sits here and says, oh, you got to bring in CM Punk. It's best for business. This is what you got to do. And then turn around and say The Rock versus Roman, which should do a lot of money, a lot of attention, box office numbers. But in the end, I got to separate that, knowing I understand why some moves were made. But as the only way we do here is we give our honest reaction. I'm fired up to talk about it, but my fandom took a huge pin in the love I had for professional wrestling, because all really the wrestling fans wanted was one single thing, and we're not getting it, which really throws into question why you would have had the Royal Rumble go the way it did if this potentially was going to be the plan. So, cuz, let's kick off the Royal Rumble. I think everybody knows why we're dejected, but in the end, the Royal Rumble was, I thought, a little too long. 4 hours for 4 matches. I think you could have parsed it down a little bit. I understand the 2 matches take an hour and 15 minutes each, but my God, 4 matches to go 4 hours. I struggled a little bit to get through it all, but in the end, it was enjoyable for what it was. But I was not expecting to fire up the microphone today and to tell you that I enjoyed the women's Royal Rumble much more than the men's.
Yeah, the Women's Royal Rumble was one of the best Royal Rumbles that I think we've had for the women. One of the best Royal Rumbles overall in a long, long time. I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I think you were right. It was a little bit long. There was a point there when we had 4 guys left in the Men's Royal Rumble where I had nodded out for a second, and then I had woke up when we had, I think Drew McIntyre had got thrown over, and that was when I was like, okay, cool, I'm back, let's go. So like I had rested my eyes, as my dad would say, for probably about 5 minutes in the middle of that match. But yes, I think the Women's Royal Rumble was incredible this year. The Women's Royal Rumble was fantastic. Bayley comes out at number 3. Liv Morgan returns at number 30. Jade Cargill's in the mix. Jade Cargill has one of the most epic moments where she picks up Nia Jax by herself, and they made a big deal to really highlight how it took 11 different women to throw Nia Jax over the ring rope last year. This time takes only Jade Cargill to get Nia Jax up and over the ring rope and throw her out. Really doing a nice moment to really highlight Jade and give her a real nice introduction to the WWE universe. Do you realize this about Jade Cargill? She was in AEW for 3 years. In those 3 years, Jade Cargill had only wrestled about 68 times. She has 68 professional career matches to her name. This is why they are bringing her along slowly. She has trouble remembering spots in her matches. A lot of times you'll go in the back, you'll work with a producer, and you guys will kind of call your spots, and then you'll go to the ring and you will work on your spots. She's had 68 matches in her career, and AEW does things a lot different than WWE. There's a lot less choreography that goes into the matches, and Jade Cargill is struggling with some of that. So that is why we are not really seeing her yet. But this was a fantastic way to really introduce her and really bring her to the forefront in the WWE universe. Bayley outlasts both of them, and she goes on to win the Royal Rumble on Friday Night SmackDown. She chose Io Sky for her match at WrestleMania, kind of getting sick and tired of all of the back talk, getting sick and tired of everybody in Damage Control talking bad about her. She's now taking things over. Ended up beating up the what do we call them? The Bukaki Warriors, the Kabuki Warriors, in Io Sky with a lead pipe. I thought it was a really great moment on Friday Night SmackDown. What did you make of Bayley winning? What did you make of Bayley outlasting Liv Morgan, who returned? That was a pretty nice return. You also got to see Jordynne Grace. That was a big moment. She came in at number 5. Naomi came in at number 2. So you had some really cool moments in this Royal Rumble. It was awesome. It was fantastic. And then, of course, Jade Cargill making it to the final 3. What were your thoughts on Bayley outlasting everybody? And what was the highlight for you? Because there was a lot to go around in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that they treated it like a very important sentinel moment for the women. And I think the women also, after the match was over, said, look, it really meant a lot that they didn't really need to bring in all the legends because they had 30 women that were believable. And to be able to have Jade Cargill felt like a true superstar. The pop that she got, the entrance that she had, she timed it perfectly. The slow walk to the ring, the way in which they used Nia Jax to help get Jade over. Everybody saw the stare down between Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair when you realize, oh my God, these two women can take the division to the next level. All in all, there's nothing bad to talk about. The match itself played out. Obviously, Natalya going first. It's kind of funny in regards to a local lady there that we all like, that we think could do a little bit more. Man, I mean, you could have had her come in like 14th. But in the end, the match itself was great. We all knew Bayley was going to win it, but sometimes, even though you know something is going to be true, you still put together the package that you got. Jordynne Grace coming out there was great. They mentioned TNA. I thought gave the company a lot of respect. And Jordynne Grace, oh my God, she fits in. You know that she's going to have an opportunity in the WWE. Go check out the 6-minute pre-taped thing that they did with her. She was in shock that it was going to happen. She kind of took the stance of, oh my God, it's wrestling. They're interested, but you know, sometimes things get talked about and then they get dropped. Her true excitement and passion, it just goes to show you what it means to be in the WWE. I thought that Triple H afterwards talking about, look, I'm not going to talk about doors that people go through. And he used the business sense. He said, look, any partnerships that we can work on that can highlight the company will do. And that's one thing that Triple H really did well this week, is to say, look, TNA's got something that we can work with here and there in terms of the women, and they took advantage of it. So the Women's Royal Rumble was entertaining top to bottom. I thought it was the right idea to kick off the Royal Rumble with the women, and it was just an enjoyable hour spent getting to kind of invest in the ladies that are in the company.
For sure. I think that's a great way to put it. It was a really good job. It was really well done for the women. This match was followed by Logan Paul, who wins via DQ, as Kevin Owens was caught with the brass knuckles that were tossed to Logan Paul. I thought it was a good match. Thought this was a good way for Paul to kind of get out of there with his belt and the win and not make Kevin Owens look like a clown. So all in all, this was good. This was the meat in the middle. It was not what you came for, but it's what you got, and it was cool. You then had Roman Reigns retain in a bit of a chaotic fatal 4-way with some help from Jimmy and Solo. So no big surprise there. What did you think of this match? To me, this was, I guess we didn't really need it. I really wasn't invested in it. And I think that has to do more with Roman and his character right now. You don't see him taking the belt off of him. There's none of these guys you believe were going to take the belt off of him. As believable as a guy like Randy Orton, AJ Styles are, and as much as you want to get behind LA Knight, they're not taking the belt off of Roman Reigns. So what was your thought? What was your reaction to this match? Because to me, it was just kind of like, all right, well, we're here. Let's get this over with and move on.
Yeah, it doesn't even deserve 60 seconds. Nobody believed LA Knight was winning. Nobody believed any of the other guys were winning. And again, it just presented another opportunity for Roman to have Solo get to the ring and help him out. That's what it is. To me, it's weird because, to be honest, I just like Roman Reigns' entrance. 5 minutes, good. You acknowledge him, stand up, and the matches have been kind of, in the end, have been routine. Not much to speak of. Roman cheated. He wins. He moves on. To me, it was just a setup to how we get to potentially Cody Rhodes fighting Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. So it is what it is. And in some way, I guess we could legitimately say that match, when you have a match that you have 3 legit stars in LA Knight, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton, and they don't have a chance to win, in some way, I think it's fair to say you devalued those guys by having that match.
You know what? I think that's a pretty accurate statement. I mean, you have a Hall of Famer in Randy Orton. You've got a Hall of Famer in AJ Styles. You've got a guy who the fans have gotten so far behind in LA Knight, and you put them in a match where nobody believes that they're winning. Nobody believes that they even have a shot. And so what you've done with this title run with Roman Reigns is really devalue a lot of wrestlers. You've not only done that, you've also devalued the belt that Seth Rollins has, and you devalue a lot of what goes on Monday Night Raw because of what you've done with Roman Reigns. And it's really unfortunate. But you're right. This match was in the backdrop. This was the foreshadowing to what we wanted, what we could get for the Men's Royal Rumble. And in the Men's Royal Rumble, I thought the Men's Royal Rumble was good. I don't really think you had any big surprises. Pat McAfee doing the show was great. Pat McAfee getting into the ring and then throwing himself out was whatever it was. But overall, I thought the Men's Royal Rumble was kind of a paint by number. There was nothing really special about it. There's nothing really great. I think the most special thing was Cody actually winning. The fact that it went down to Cody and CM Punk, who go head to head, and they have a mini match inside of this grandiose match. I thought that was pretty fantastic. I thought that was pretty special. In the end, Cody outlasts CM Punk to one of the biggest pops in my living room as I was screaming and I was pumped up as Cody was then pointing at Roman Reigns because we're going to finally get the culmination of him finishing his story. But not so fast. We'll talk about that with SmackDown. What was your thought about this Men's Royal Rumble and this way to kind of close out this pay-per-view?
Well done. I thought that for a guy, and the only reason why I didn't pick was it's been 25 or 26 years since a man went back-to-back. I thought you could have got from Cody to Roman pretty easily without. But look what would have happened. If you would have had CM Punk win it, then the winner of the Royal Rumble is out with injury, as CM Punk maybe has the doc with egg all over his face because the man's old. You can't put a guy that potentially now is injury prone at the head of the table. I'm sorry, his run is over. He's upper mid card, right there on the tip of main event, but you can't bank on it now because the man has had tricep injury after tricep injury. He's had now 3 6-month layoffs in a row. I mean, in essence, you could say that CM Punk killed Cody Rhodes' push. And it's a nightmare. It's a disaster. It was cool to see, but in the end, the nostalgia act officially wears off with CM Punk at the Royal Rumble. It's cool to see. It's cool to see a guy that was part of the history of the WWE, but now it's time to turn the page to the future, to the young guys. I thought that Andrade coming back was cool. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from the outside, a debut. But other than that, the match itself was okay, but it was wonky. It was like a lot of kicks and punches, not a lot of high spots, which you don't get in the Rumble. But the match itself was just a lot of posturing and trying to get guys over. There weren't a lot of moments other than Gunther and the big guys in the final. There weren't a lot of great moments for the mid-card, and it goes to show you that it was. I mean, is it really bad when the highlight of the men's is when R-Truth shows up in the women's Royal Rumble? I mean, the hot tag was cool, a little bit of wonkiness and entertainment value, but I looked at the men's Rumble as, let's just end this show so we can get to what the fallout's going to be. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, and look, you said you did a great job there because Andrade was a guy who came back, and to be honest with you, I didn't even realize Andrade. Like, I totally forgot Andrade was even available. With everything that's been going on, I totally forgot Andrade was a guy who could come back. So, like, when his music hit, I was like, who? Wait, what? I was like, oh, my God, this is awesome. But, like, with everything that's been going on with wrestling, I totally forgot that Andrade was even available. And I think you're right. It was a little bit wonky at times. There were spots where you're just kind of like, can we just get to the end? Can we just wrap this up? And I think what they did, especially with the final four, specifically those final three, it really helped lead into what we got on Monday Night Raw. And I think that's kind of where we go next. Really quickly, on calling the card, I ended up sweeping the card. I made up a lot of ground on you. I took 3 points while you took 1 point. So now I am at your heels. It is 11.5 to 12.5. I am incredibly close to you. We basically have, I think, 2 more pay-per-views before we reset everything. So there is still time for me to make an epic comeback and catch you, or I can bobble this as I go to cross the finish line and you run away with it. So we'll see what happens. You'll have to tune in. We've got Elimination Chamber. We've got Revolution. We've got all these things before WrestleMania. WrestleMania, we reset the card. So right now, Doc leads me by 1 point. But like I said, this all led to what we got on Monday Night Raw. In Monday Night Raw, there was not much wrestling to move any storylines along. Monday Night Raw was more filled with 2 great promos. 2 promos that really helped stir some emotion and really help kind of lay the landscape for what we're going to get going forward to WrestleMania. And the first one was Drew McIntyre. You have Drew McIntyre interrupt CM Punk. CM Punk comes out to tell us that he has a torn tricep. The expectation is he'll be back sometime in September. This is per Dave Meltzer. CM Punk is kind of laying it out, talking about heroes, talking about people who are absolute studs in real life, and he's just the guy, and this is not the end of his story, but this is just a bump in the road. For Drew McIntyre to come out and basically take shots at CM Punk, stating, I prayed for this, I wished for this, laying CM Punk's arm out on the mat and then jumping onto the torn tricep. There's a video you can go back and watch in the Royal Rumble. Drew McIntyre is the one that delivers the blow that causes CM Punk's tricep to tear.
Oh, did he?
He goes for a future shock DDT. Yeah, he goes for a future shock DDT. And it's very routine. But CM Punk goes down, and you can see CM Punk immediately roll over, grab the back of his arm, and he rolls to the side, and he limps to it, and he goes to a referee and says, it's my arm, it's my tricep. They say, do you want a doctor? He says, no, I want to finish. And he ends up finishing the match.
Did he land on it? Was it like a situation in which, because he's had a previous injury, it might have been more sensitive? Or did he land on it where his arm is like awkwardly based on the weight of his body falling on it? Like, how did it happen?
I think it was more, I think, awkward based on how he landed on it. So the angle of the shot that I seen, it looked like he just maybe landed a little bit awkward. You have to remember, Drew is a very big, thick man. CM Punk is a little bit smaller. I think it just kind of, when they went down, I think Drew did his job to protect CM Punk with the move. But when Drew took him down, I think CM Punk just kind of tweaked his arm and it tore the tricep. So it's really, really unfortunate. I'll see if I can find the video and I'll send it to you. It doesn't look gruesome at all. It just looks like he got hurt. You're like, oh, man, something's not right there. But that was it. I thought Drew's promo, I don't know what they're going to do with Drew, because Drew, by all reports, has not signed a new contract. And they did a really good job laying down a future feud for CM Punk. But CM Punk won't be back till September. Drew's contract's set to expire in March. So where are we going with Drew McIntyre? What are we going to do when CM Punk comes back? And this injury right here really flipped what was supposed to take place at WrestleMania. But I thought Drew's promo was fantastic.
Yeah, no doubt. It's storyline, and I thought CM Punk's promo was real, raw, knowing that that's something that he wanted. But in the end, CM Punk, and we don't want to be harsh, but he came into the Rumble as a main eventer. Now he comes back as a mid-card. There's no way that I think it's great that he said, I'm coming back for you, Drew, which is a little bit weird because Drew doesn't have a contract beyond April. So you hope that maybe CM Punk can come back, but I think it's a great first feud for CM Punk. Not right back to the top, but get back at the guy that hurt you. And I think that's fair. But it sucks because CM Punk had the chance to really have a moment at WrestleMania. But hey, maybe it'll be at 41.
Yeah, we'll have to see what takes place. And this leads us to, again, the other part of this is how it now impacts Cody Rhodes. So we have Cody coming down to be interrupted by Seth now, and Seth basically begs Cody to choose him at WrestleMania 40 instead of Roman Reigns. And Seth goes on to basically say, this is the workman's title. This is the title that is not Hollywood. This is the title that is defended all the time. This title has more prestige than what Roman's title has. Now, Cody Rhodes' story is the title that Roman holds. It is not this title that they made up because nobody could get the title off of Roman Reigns and they needed a secondary belt. The title that Seth Rollins holds is very, very new, does not have a history, does not have a lineage. Seth begging Cody really put some doubt into everybody's mind. We're all like, oh my God, they can't do this. Like, we can't have this happen. And it really set for a backdrop for SmackDown, for what we ended up getting that we're going to talk about here in a moment. But I want to know what you thought about Seth Rollins begging Cody Rhodes to choose him at WrestleMania 40. And I was wondering if you've seen any of the back and forth that they had on Twitter where Seth Rollins basically put a package together and was like, Seth was basically like, Cody, you need to choose me. You need to pick this belt as your WrestleMania belt that you want to go and challenge for. I was wondering if you've seen any of that and just kind of what your thoughts were on Seth begging Cody.
Okay, so let me set the scene. So first and foremost, it's early Saturday, so let me clear my head here. So obviously the WWE Championship is the one that was held by Hogan, San Martino, Ultimate Warrior, things like that. The Universal title was new, and obviously they blended it, and it got, the first dual guy was Jericho and all that, and unified it, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so eventually they retired the Ric Flair heavyweight title, right? Is that what I'm saying? Is that, okay, so what could have been done in the past when you want to introduce the world heavyweight title? I know the new belt is cool, but I just would have brought back the Ric Flair belt. I mean, that belt is so beautiful.
The old WCW belt would have been fine.
That's the belt. That's a world championship belt worn by Triple H, Randy Orton, Batista, the heavyweights of the big time stars. So that belt, I don't think they could do it. But if Cody beats Seth, I would love to see Cody Rhodes come out. If it's not the wingtip, because that's so old, I think the world heavyweight title, the one that was represented by WCW, would be more than fine. You spruce it up a little bit, more gold, more bling, I think would be great. So I can't be a hypocrite. Once I saw what Seth said, the workman's title, I said I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think that the way in which Seth said that, look, Cody, you're a wrestler. Do you want to be Hulk Hogan and beat the guy that really isn't the best? So my initial reaction was, you know what? Seth is the better wrestler. This is more like Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels than it is Hogan Warrior. And so the promos and the videos that Seth did made me say it's not a bad idea. But then once you realize the story and you say to yourself, okay, what would get Cody more over and the biggest pop? And Cody's already beaten Seth 3 times.
Yeah.
So in the end, I'm okay seeing Cody versus Seth, but Seth's hurt. So you're not beating the man at the highest peak. I thought the promos were great. If you're Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, you're like, God damn it. Why can't I get respect in the wrestling business as opposed to Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes? But that'll always be there. The entertainer versus the wrestler, the workhorse. And there's room for everybody. But in the end, I thought it did a great job. I thought Seth really made the pitch. Hey, pick me. And I'm important. And I'm somebody that... But the weird thing was, when in those promos that Seth did, he said, what kind of champion do you want to be? Do you want to be like Hogan or do you want to be like Flair? Which kind of insinuates that he's going to lose, which is kind of weird. I think that he should have more put it like, the phrasing should have been, I'm a champion like Dusty Rhodes. I'm a champion like Ric Flair. Are you going to go down the path one day of being like this? So I think the phrasing was a little bit awkward, but man, Seth Rollins is the man. But boy, did Roman Reigns do a good job of clowning Seth Rollins. I thought it was among the best disses that you're going to see, highlighted by the line, how can you be the man of this company when you're walking around in your wife's clothes for the last 2 years.
It was so great.
It was such a beautiful delivery. Yeah, Seth Rollins, no pop. You don't. It was out of this world. So in the end, we finally discover what's going to happen, and I think the blessing is you and I kind of fall in line with how a lot of people believe. But Raw was okay, but I thought that you said it. It was just a show that was going to be highlighted by what's going to be next for the people in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and like you said, that kind of set the stage for what we got on SmackDown, which I refer to it as a bit of a dirty diaper. Cody's here to make his choice, and you can tell, like, they do this whole thing with Cody throughout the entirety of the show, where he's walking his dog early in the day backstage. He's sitting in one of the rooms in his dressing room with his dog, and you can just tell he does not look excited. And he goes down to the ring to meet Roman Reigns, who, like you said, cut a very fantastic promo on Seth Rollins, talking about how when he tried to carry this company on his back, it broke his back and it messed up his knee. And then he imitated the way Seth Rollins has to walk because his knee's all banged up. Made the line about dressing up in his wife's clothes. And you want to be the man. Like you said, Seth Rollins, yeah, no pop. So it was great. Like, Roman's promo was absolutely fantastic and really did set the stage for Cody, who comes down and says, I've taken a lot of counsel about what I'm going to do with my decision. And one of these people that I've taken my counsel from, and then cue The Rock's music. And at this moment in time, I don't know about you, but my heart was in my asshole. And I was like, we're not doing this. We can't be doing this. Like, this is the wrong move in so many ways. This is the worst thing to do. And you could just see Cody's face. Cody looked disappointed. Cody looked upset. Like, I beg you, go back and watch this. Cody looked almost distraught in what he had to do to help move the storyline that they want to tell along. The Rock comes out. The Rock basically gets winded walking to the ring, climbs his old ass into the ring, and he hugs Cody, and they exchange a word. And Cody legit looks upset. Like, it might be just me, but I think Cody looks upset. Cody ends up leaving the ring, looks back at the ring, and then ends up walking off. We end up fading out with The Rock and Roman coming face to face in the middle of the ring. And that, boys and girls, it's not official yet. That's going to be your WrestleMania match. That's going to be your WrestleMania 40 Night 2 main event, while Cody will have to push his story off for at least another year. Mind you, we've been along this road for well over a year now with Cody Rhodes, hoping to get to this moment. That was the whole thing with him winning the Royal Rumble, was for him to be able to pick Roman Reigns to battle him. But instead, The Rock is going to slide in last minute and take the spot, and we're going to get a clunker of a match, and we're going to have The Rock versus Roman, Cody versus Seth. Cody Rhodes' story does not get to continue. And I don't know about you. I'm upset. Like, I'm frustrated. Cody looked frustrated. I don't think this makes good business sense. I think this will sell tickets for WrestleMania. So it'll be a big deal for WrestleMania. But I think long term, this is a bad move. I think this is stupid. I don't think The Rock is able to move in the ring like he used to be. Watching The Rock get blown up doing one people's elbow was kind of telling a couple weeks ago. Yeah, The Rock looks like he's in fantastic shape. The guy looks like he's chiseled out of granite. But it's different when you're in wrestling shape. You've got to be able to move in the ring. I don't think we're going to get the match that we want. We're not going to get the finality that we've been looking for with Cody's story. This, to me, is spitting in the face of all wrestling fans, because we've been along this ride, we've been along this journey with Cody Rhodes, and he has been the guy. He has been the dude who has carried WWE for the last year and a half. He has been the biggest merch seller. He has been the biggest crown jewel, so to speak, that they have. Look, Roman is hardly there. Roman talked about it in his promo. He's like, I work 10 times less than you, but I make 10 times more money than you.
That was a great
The Rock
line.
has done, yeah, it was. But like, The Rock has done like 4 title defenses a year. Like, He doesn't defend his belt. He's not there. What are we doing? Cody Rhodes is the guy that puts butts in seats. Cody Rhodes is the guy that fans want to see, and you're going in this other direction. And to me, look, AEW hasn't been giving us a very good product, and we're going to talk about AEW here in a moment. But this really hurts my WWE fandom. This really was a kick in the dick for me. And it's like, we do this podcast because we love wrestling. At this moment in time, I'm so sick and tired of wrestling. It is frustrating as a fan to be so invested in one man's journey to then have it basically pulled out right from underneath him after doing all the things that need to get done to get you to the point where he's supposed to be crowned the guy. And, it's one of those things where I don't even give a shit if he's crowned the guy at WrestleMania for the one night, and then you want to come back on Monday Night Raw and you want to take it away from him. I don't even give a shit.
Right.
But he deserves the one night. And he deserves the one night.
Yes. And here's the thing. Buckle up. Here's the thing. Now it's to the point where when it's going to happen, we all know Cody at one point will defeat Roman Reigns. But now I don't care as much. I wanted to see Cody Rhodes win the title last year. Fine. You wanted to delay it. You wanted to add to his heartbreak. You wanted to add to the story like Daniel Bryan, the climb. I know Triple H learned that sometimes there's value in despair. But what the hell, dude? 1 year and everybody in the wrestling community wants to see it. Wrestlers want to see it. Cody wants to see it. He deserves it. And to have it go down like this, now whenever he wins it, I don't care. I'm off that train. That story has been finished. He's going to be the champion. You could even see the future vision. Cody Rhodes wins the secondary belt, the World Heavyweight Championship. Roman goes on to hold on to the record and whatever that means. And you have title versus title in an epic clash like at WrestleMania 41. And you're going to unify the belts. And it's going to mean something. But, bro, I could give a flying fuck. It's going to happen. Great. Unify the belts. You get one belt, one champion. And that's Cody Rhodes. But in the end, by that point, you would have already delayed it so much. Just like a kid at Christmas. I ain't waiting 3 years for no fucking bike. I don't give a flying fuck if it's a magical bike that gets me all the chicks and flies. If I have to wait 3 years for it, it's fucking 2024, dude. We all got ADD. We all got shit we got going on. We all move on quickly. So what WWE has done has taken away my interest in WrestleMania. I'm going to watch, but with the same passion that I'm going to watch before, it's gone. It's something that you say every so often, you have to give the wrestling fans what they want. I mean, think about it. And that's what sucks too, and I'll never do it again. Imagine paying $2,000 if you're a family of two and you want to take your kid with the hopes that it was going to be Cody Rhodes winning it. You invested, you put your hard-earned money down, and you're flying from Japan or India or England, and you hear this, you just feel like you wasted $2,000. Plus the flight, plus the experience. Yeah, you're going to spend time with the community. Yeah, you're going to be in the building. Because here's something else that I'm shocked that maybe WWE might revisit real fast. Where's WrestleMania this year? Philadelphia. Do you think Philadelphia fans care what the appropriate rules are of cheering during a match are?
No.
Could you imagine what could happen at that match? You could have the fans saying, okay, it could actually be unspoken. We're going to shit on this match. We're going to boo. We're going to cheer. We're going to cheer for Jalen Hurts. We're going to cheer for DeAndre Swift.
Dude, Philly fans will throw batteries at people. They don't care.
Yeah, they'll chant AEW. They could chant Vince. They could do whatever. Where's Vince chants? They could literally take this match and make it such a clown show that it'll be so awkward for the guys involved. They literally could do what they did, and they could cheer Roman and absolutely boo Rock. You're too old. Where have you been? Hulk Hogan. They could chant whatever they want and make this a shit show. Nobody wants to see this, man. I know the crowd popped, and I know that the Birmingham, Alabama people love to see the pop for The Rock. But in essence, juxtapose that with knowing that The Rock joined the board. It just feels like, well, I'm on the board, so I want to make some money, and so let's put me in the main event. It has.
Yep.
It has like. I know they got time to build it, but I just don't want to see it. I don't care. It's not something
Yep.
that needed to be done at WrestleMania. It's not something that needs to be done at the expense of Cody Rhodes. I felt. Look, in the end, I know people, and let me pull up real fast. Give the respect to Adam Salgett. He's the one that can wake up early and text me. He's like, look.
Blowing your DMs up.
Yep, pulling him up. He's like, oh, geez, he'll be fine. Because they ruined Cody's story. It's sad. When I saw the first Lord of the Rings, I had no idea it was a trilogy. I was pretty angry that the movie just ended. In the end, the ring returned to Mordor. Cody will get his precious belt, and it will be glorious. Also, if it's The Rock versus Roman, Cody now is a parallel with CM Punk. And shoot, maybe The Rock beats Roman at WrestleMania, keep the belt off of television until next year when it's a three-way between Rock, Cody, and CM Punk.
I don't want to see The Rock anymore. That's the problem.
That's the problem. So listen, Adam. Listen, Mr. Salgett. Your booking sucks, and I don't want to hear it. I want to cry like everybody else. I feel for the wrestling community, and I respect those that have a different opinion. I understand that the thinking is
you know what though?
You could elevate the belt with Seth and all that. It's just terrible.
I think you said something. You said something really great when you were going on and you were pontificating. You said something really great. We don't want to go through this again.
Right.
We've already done this. You've already put us through this. Like we get it. Like we were allowing ourselves to buy into the anguish, into the climb. We were allowing ourselves to go on this journey because we knew that there was going to be a payoff at the end. We knew that payoff was coming in March or April, whenever WrestleMania is. We knew that payoff was coming in a couple of months. And what you've just done is you've spit in our face. You're saying, no, now is not the time. We've got to do it all over again. Like, there was no reason for Cody not to win last year. There was no reason, because what Roman Reigns has done since then, he could have done all these things, and he could have had all these stories that they've told without the championship belt. Cody could have won it last year, and it would have been fine. Instead, you kept the belt on Roman, and we're like, okay, fine, this makes sense. We will buy in. We'll buy in because we know that there's going to be a payoff at the end. And then what you've done is you've taken our payoff away from us, and you say, no, you guys haven't waited long enough. You got to wait longer. Well, I don't want to wait another year. I don't want to do this shit again because I had to do it already. I've already invested an entire year of my life in this man's story. I don't want to do it again. It's basically been 2 years, if you really think about it. From the time that he came back to the time that he's wrestled, it's been almost 2 damn years. Like, I don't want to do it no more. Like, you're going to suck up 3 years of my life with this one story?
Look at this
Come
tweet.
on, bro.
Look at this tweet I just tagged you in. From 6/29/2011. CM Punk, it's simple business. The Rock is the main event at WrestleMania because it draws more money in one night, than you will in a lifetime. History repeats itself. Look, it's a money ploy. I get it. It's a business. And they think they'll draw money with it. I don't know. I think I think when I look at it, I conceptualize it like this. WWE wants to make the quick 10 million now and then move on. And I think you could have made 100 million. You could have made 4 million with Cody at WrestleMania and then 3 million every single month for the rest of the year. You would have could you imagine Cody Rhodes touring the country in 2024 with that belt? I feel like you would have sold more merch. I feel like you would have sold. I think you would have got the money, but over a longer period of time. So I think the WWE hurt themselves. I think the negative press. I mean, WWE's YouTube channel has 200,000 dislikes on the segment. So
yeah,
we'll see how it plays out.
It was not good.
We'll see how it plays out. It's disappointing. It takes the balloon. It pops the air from the balloon for me. We'll watch WrestleMania. I'm glad that WrestleMania made a decision regarding their start time. I'm glad that potentially, look, to me, WrestleMania is not always just about the main event. I'm now going to be invested in the women. I'm going to be invested in the tag teams. I'm going to be invested in maybe even what the hell they do with Damian Priest. So could you imagine, cuz, if they really want to spit in the face of the fans, Cody wins it and then Damian cashes in on Cody? Could you imagine if they did that? At WrestleMania, end of night one, Cody wins it, celebrates, gruesome match, and out comes Damian Priest.
Yeah.
They could do it.
Yep. And they put the belt on Damian Priest.
Put the belt on Damian Priest and call it a day. So look, in the end, we'll see if WWE pivots. We'll see if The Rock makes it to WrestleMania. There's no guarantee. The man's 51, and the man looks like he's been lifting. It was interesting when
the guy looks like he lifts houses and eats babies. Like
Right.
he is stacked.
Didn't you wonder?
The cardiovascular is not there though.
Yeah, didn't you wonder when Drew McIntyre was doing his tricep workout? I was like, how the hell does he not pull a tricep trying to pull that shit down? I was like, my God, I haven't lifted that much weight my entire lifetime. And he's like, I love that. I love that segment. He's like, here's how you work out, CM Punk. He pulls the tricep down, and I'm like, how do these guys work out, get in the ring, and not break down? My Lord. So WWE, good job. You got people talking, but in the end, I think you ruined WrestleMania 40. And it sickens me. Let's talk about AEW. That's totally on the opposite side, because they put on one of the worst cards I think of the year. It was a vacation show. I watched it and I was like, okay, this is a vacation show. That show had some good wrestling, good promos, but in the end, oh my God, cause I don't say this to be disrespectful, but if you're gonna put a camera and highlight Glory Rose being there, that story is crazy. Me and my wife love 2020. That story that she has in her life, if that's the kind of people that you're attracting to your show, you better find some different fans, because it was really the embodiment of these are diehard 1,200 fans that showed up to an arena. AEW's got to pivot. They got to go to smaller venues, or they got to stick in Jacksonville for a minute until they repair what the hell they're doing, because that's embarrassing to have 1,200 people for a televised show. Really, really highlighting the fact that WWE kind of has taken some body shots against AEW. And we've talked about it in the group chat. I think the mass appeal of AEW, people tuned in and said, I don't want to see a dude taking a plastic fork to another man's head. And they've kind of gone away and said, we don't like what we're seeing on this product.
Yeah, over the course of time here, they really have changed. It really feels like the heart and soul of AEW was kind of sucked out when Cody Rhodes left. And look, I know Cody Rhodes at the time was not in the best spot, and fans didn't really view him well, but I think he was a mind in the background. He was a sense of stability. He was a guy who grew up in the business and understood the business, and whether you loved him, you hated him, he knew what was right for business, and I think he helped keep things on track. Where AEW is now, I don't understand. I've been really underwhelmed with shows lately. I've been really unimpressed with stuff. And just to give a little context to what you're talking about, AEW been on a massive downslope for a while now, right? This week's Dynamite show was supposed to take place in a 9,000 seat arena. That's not very big. It was set up for 7,000 people. They sold under 2,000 seats to this event. They've been struggling like this for a while. And like you said, at this moment in time, maybe you need to go back to Daly's Place and do shows there for a little bit. Maybe you need to pick smaller venues. And I'm not saying bingo halls, but you don't need to be in these massive arenas because you can't sell them out right now. Your product is not good enough. People are telling you that they do not want to pay the $20 because their tickets are relatively affordable. They do not want to pay the $20 to come and sit and watch the hour pre-show that you have, the 2-hour Dynamite that you have that is your A show, and then watch an hour taping of your C show. And look, I think that is part of the problem. They have so much that they have to fill. You're not good enough to be able to have to fill 3 hours, no, 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours of television, 4 or 5 hours of television every single week. You've got Dynamite, you've got Collision, and then sandwiched in the middle is Rampage. You don't have enough television. You're not good enough to be able to package this and give this to people consistently. You don't do a good enough job of building up stars. You've done a really good job of taking people from WWE. You bring them in and you try to highlight them. They get disgruntled after 2 months. And then they get upset, and then what you do is you put them back on the shelf, and you don't do anything with them. See Andrade, see Miro, see, I don't know, just about anybody else who's come over from WWE that hasn't worked with Chris Jericho, okay? And that is what you do. You don't do a good enough job of highlighting newer talent. That was the thing that made you different. You got a breath of fresh air with different talent, guys who are able to go do different things. And you're not seeing that right now. This show opened with Jon Moxley, WWE guy, versus Jeff Hardy, WWE guy. Who the hell cares about this match? What do we fight? Like, who what are we fighting for? Who gives a shit? This was your opening belt. This is what you fought for to open with. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You have to do a better job with your creative. AEW's creative has been shit for a minute now. So I think a way to help fix this, like you highlighted, smaller venues, maybe going back to Daly's Place. You need to do a better job with your creative. I think the one storyline that you have going right now that's interesting is Samoa Joe, and it is Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page. And honestly, the only reason Samoa Joe's interesting in that is because he holds the belt. Like, he himself is not interesting. Hangman Page and Swerve, they are interesting because they've had some knockdown, drag-out fights. Everything else, not really interesting. This show sucked. The shows have sucked. AEW has not been fun to watch. It's been a bit of a chore. And look, I just don't know. I just don't know what we're doing. Look, Tony Khan has promised a big announcement this Wednesday. This big announcement, I believe it's going to be Mercedes Moné and possibly Okada. And if you think bringing in these other two people are going to save your company, you need to give them better creative. You need to do something that's a little bit more interesting because what you're doing is not good. And WWE has showed you. Just look at Cody Rhodes. We're willing to go along with a long storyline. We're willing to go along and buy in if you make it worth our while. Even if in the end you shit on our chest like they're doing with The Rock and Cody. All right? We're willing to buy in. You need to do a better job with your creative. You need to shrink your venues down, and you need to build and highlight new stars. Since Darby Allin, since Orange Cassidy, I can't remember another young star that they helped build. I can't remember a young talent that they helped build. And Orange Cassidy was awesome on the indies, and Darby was interesting on the indies. But these guys, after them, they've been in AEW now for 4 years. You haven't done anything in 4 years? Is that what you're telling me? Like what? What are you doing? So I think you have a lot that you have to get right and a lot that you have to get done. What do you think this big announcement that Tony has is? Do you think it's Mercedes Moné and Okada?
Yeah, most likely. I mean, Okada is great if the opportunity presents itself, but he's been there before. I would love to see Okada fight Gunther at WrestleMania, but we'll see where that plays out. Mercedes Moné probably is the announcement if you give people a couple weeks to kind of talk about it. But look, in the end, you realize, how do you have Swerve Strickland walk down to the ramp without Prince Nana? Like, what the hell just happened? Like, literally, I'm like, okay, Swerve's coming out. Unless I missed it, the dance wasn't there. I'm like, this is like the biggest part of the show. This is like what I like. And he's not there. I'm like, okay. And I looked at it and I said, okay, it's a wrestling show. It had the feel of a third-rate WCW Saturday night show. That's kind of how it felt this week. And I'll say this for WWE. The women's matches were pretty good. Tiffany Stratton and the match that she had on SmackDown was great. I thought they set her up to be a real good heel. And it's just AEW's got to get their mojo back. And I don't know if it has to do with the Bucks, Kenny Omega being hurt. You got to highlight your stars. And I think in the group chat, I just said, look, man, it's no time for brand splits. You bring FTR, you bring the Bullet Club and the new faction, you bring them over. And cause I'll say this, the name of the new faction with the Bullet Club is kind of weird. And it's a little bit too corny in my opinion. You got Jay White, he's a legit star. And while I love, the scissor angle and all that kind of fun stuff, I don't think they need a partnership right now. I think they can do it on their own to get themselves over as a tag team. And I'll pull up here the name again, but you can't devalue the stars that you have. And I'm disappointed in how AEW creatively has taken their mid-card and not elevated people the right way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it is incredibly frustrating to watch what they've done because at one point, they were the hottest thing on the market. They had so much talent. And really and truly, you just fast forward a year and a half, and it's like, what are we doing? There's nothing interesting. You turn it on, and I don't want to say it's mindless wrestling, but there's no story, right? Like we watch wrestling for the story. And here's the thing. We've all been conditioned because we grew up on WWE. We've all been conditioned for the story. We've all been conditioned for the entertainment. So if you just want to give us a New Japan-like product, that's fine. If you're going to do that, you better have banger after banger after banger of matches. And you're not giving that to us. A lot of times, especially with your women, you give us these clunky offshoot matches that are horrible. And a lot of the times, the mid-card matches aren't very good. You're not giving us anything that we're interested in. And that is a problem. And that is kind of where I've come.
Okay. Now, normally I'd laugh, but who comes up with the Bang Bang Scissor Gang? You can't take that. You can laugh. I mean, it makes you laugh. The Bang Bang Scissor Gang. All right, man. Look, Jay White is a legit star, and you got to treat him as such. And these 6 people factions do not need to take place. And look, you just got to highlight Adam Cole. You got to, I think, too, and here's probably the biggest thing. When MJF goes down, people are like, okay, I'll just wait till he comes back. And I think that's what's happening, is they've just said, oh, MJF's hurt. Okay, let's see where he ends up. And Samoa Joe in the IWC world is a great champion. But on a mass appeal scale, people are like, what's this fat dude doing being the champion? They're like, who's this guy? They don't know him. He's not a draw in my mind when you look at Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Samoa Joe. One of these things is not like the other. And we're not disrespecting Samoa Joe. It's just on a mass appeal scale, you got really an indie champion that's there. And in the end, most people don't go from TV champion to world champion. And that's just the best way to put it in the wrestling world.
Nope, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let's move on. What was your show of the week? I'm giving it to SmackDown. I thought, even though SmackDown took a Cleveland steamer on us, it was the best show because Raw didn't have a whole lot. We both agreed Dynamite was the shits. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't pay Rampage any minds, and Collision is in an awful time slot. I did not watch NXT. I've been very upset with wrestling. Who you want to give the point to?
Point to SmackDown, baby. Absolutely. I thought it was a good show. Nice and tight, and they handled business in the first hour, and the second hour is the most disappointing. Is what we're talking about most. We'll figure it out because maybe they'll pivot. Maybe this will be a sign that they pivot. But unfortunately, there is a press conference Thursday on Peacock from Vegas. So they're going forward, as of this recording, with The Rock and Roman Reigns.
Yep. You ready for some news and notes? I got a lot for you.
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
All right. A lot of news coming out of the Royal Rumble weekend. Last week, we discussed the news of Vince McMahon's lawsuit and allegations. Well, due to this, hours before the Royal Rumble took place, McMahon resigned from the TKO board. This marks the end of Vince McMahon in WWE for now, and I believe this time it may be forever. On January 29, 2024, WWE parent company TKO Group Holdings submitted a filing to the SEC to confirm the resignation of Vince McMahon. McMahon announced his resignation on January 26, a day after the lawsuit was filed accusing him of sex trafficking, abuse, and more. Prior to Vince's announcing his resignation, and what is believed to have been added to the pressure of him resigning, was WWE's biggest sponsor, Slim Jim, announcing it was putting its deal with the company on pause after the allegations of McMahon came out. Now, once McMahon resigned from TKO, where he served as the executive chairman of the board, Slim Jim then announced its partnership with WWE was resuming. In the midst of all this, the reaction from Ariel Emanuel, the CEO of WWE's parent company, TKO, to the allegations against Vince McMahon have reportedly emerged. Now, this is incredibly important for a lot of what I'm about to tell you, a lot of these other news and notes that are about to follow, and a lot of what you may be seeing right now. Mind you, it's been noted that Emanuel's daughter has been employed at WWE headquarters for several years. PW Insider has now shared some details on the internal reaction within WWE and TKO to the news and what it could mean going forward. One of the talking points and concerns from certain people's perspective is that anyone who had a close relationship with Vince McMahon could be a target to be let go by the company. Specifically, there were people who left the company when Vince had resigned from WWE the first time around and then came back when he came back. So those people especially could be at risk as the company looks for a completely fresh start. One source stated that Emmanuel will ferociously eradicate anything that needs to be taken care of to protect his business. Now, more fallout from this Vince lawsuit, and this is kind of what I was alluding to, was Brock Lesnar taking some blowback. Now, while Lesnar was not named in the lawsuit, he was described to a T within it. Because of this, WWE has removed him from the Royal Rumble and stopped his current contract discussion. And with WWE removing Lesnar from the Royal Rumble plans, they replaced him with NXT Braun Breaker, who looks like he's getting his WWE call-up now. Dave Meltzer reported that Breaker fulfilled what Lesnar was planned to do in the Rumble, coming in at the same number, eliminating the same people, and being eliminated the exact same way that was planned for Lesnar. Breaker was eliminated by Dominic Mysterio, which means the original plan would have been for Dominic to eliminate Lesnar. A new report from Post Wrestling seemed to confirm this, as they reported that a match was in fact planned between Dominic and Lesnar after the Rumble. The match was set to take place at the Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia on February 24th. Now, according to Meltzer, Lesnar was set for a match with Gunther at WrestleMania. In the Wrestling Observer Daily Update on January 28th, Meltzer wrote, Lesnar's plans creative last night was filled by Braun Breaker. Pretty much his point of entry, eliminations, and how he was eliminated were all planned for Lesnar. The Lesnar creative, which at this point he's not going to be involved with unless they decide they would bring him back, was Lesnar versus Dominic in Australia and Lesnar versus Gunther. I don't know factually an Intercontinental title match, but one would expect at WrestleMania. So whether Braun Breaker gets those matches is not clear. But along with him being removed from the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, Lesnar has also been removed from WWE 2K Supercards mobile game. Players are reporting that Lesnar has disappeared from the game. PW Insider reports that they've been told by sources to expect Lesnar to be downplayed, if not outright removed, from 2K projects and possibly other licensed product as well. There's not been any word yet on whether Lesnar will be removed from the WWE 2K24 video game, which releases in early March. As of now, he is still featured on the official WWE 2K website, specifically on the cover of the 40 Years of WrestleMania edition of the game. Sticking with more fallout from the Vince lawsuit, a lot of finger-pointing and blaming of Vince is now going on. A lawyer for WWE Talent Relations head John Laurinaitis has claimed that Laurinaitis was a victim of Vince McMahon. In a statement to Vice News on February 1st, Laurinaitis' lawyer, Edward Brennan, stated that Mr. Laurinaitis denies the allegations in the misguided complaint and will be vigorously defending these charges in court. Not the media. Like the plaintiff, Mr. Laurinaitis is a victim in this case, not a predator. The truth will come out. Vice also wrote, in response to the follow-up question seeking to clarify that he was indeed saying that Mr. McMahon was the predator and that Laurinaitis, like Grant, was a victim, Brennan wrote, read the allegations, read the federal statute, power, control, employment, supervisory capacity, dictatorial sexual demands with repercussions if not met. Count how many times in the complaint Vince exerts control over both of them. This should be interesting to see how this plays out because Laurinaitis' character has been questioned multiple times and many people have been on record calling him a scumbag, so we'll see what takes place. As the commentary wheel spins around, we have new teams. Pat McAfee was a special guest commentator and entrant in this past weekend's Royal Rumble, and he also appeared on Monday Night Raw this week. During the show, it was announced that McAfee would be joining the Raw commentary team moving forward. Triple H took to Twitter to share a photo of himself and Pat backstage, welcoming McAfee back. Triple H wrote, thrilled to have at Pat McAfee show every week on WWE Raw. Welcome home, Pat. McAfee previously served as a regular commentator for SmackDown's brand from April of 2021 to September of 2022. He has also wrestled for WWE on several occasions and most recently competing in one-on-one action at WrestleMania 39 in April of 2023, defeating The Miz. Now, for SmackDown, recent reports note that the commentary team will be Corey Graves and Wade Barrett. It was also noted that Corey Graves would move into the lead announcer's position while Barrett would be in the color commentary role. This is what we've seen on Friday night. And finally, on Wednesday night, an AEW big man suffered an injury. In the Wardlow Commander match, the War Daddy went to powerbomb Commander and his knee buckled and was noticeably limping to close the match. Wardlow, after the match, said he was fine, but reports from Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez is that he possibly tore his meniscus. The report states that they feel like they dodged a bullet, but the big man is not 100%. So we'll see what happens with the War Daddy. That's going to do it for this week's wrestling news and notes.
Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast, where we cover all things Detroit sports and the world of professional wrestling. Times are turbulent. Times are changing. We'll see what the fallout's going to be next week on Raw and SmackDown. Cody Rhodes, obviously now one of the most sympathetic figures in the world, in the history of professional wrestling. Let's see what this means. Let's see, does the internet wrestling community change their tune? Will this go on? Will it be The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? Let's see. Let's find out. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that we've said, hit us up on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. We love the banter. We love to definitely check in the world of wrestling and see what the internet wrestling community is thinking regarding a variety of subjects. I can't wait to fire it up. Even though right now we took a body blow, we took a super kick to the chin. We're down, but we're not out. We'll always get back up for another edition of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast.